Hey guys, Standing Simmer here today, and welcome back to the channel for another speed build. Now guys, we are back on the Building Up Windenburg series, which has kind of taken over the speed builds on my channel here recently. In case you couldn't tell, I'm kind of obsessed with building builds for the series, but you guys should be proud of me. I did build something that was totally unrelated to the series, and it went up on the channel last week, which you guys can definitely check out if you would like. I called it Autumn Chateau, and it is one of my favorite builds that I think I've ever done, if I'm being completely honest with you. But guys, we are back in Windenburg, like I said, and we are building in the farmhouse area, which I've kind of affectionately dubbed the top left-hand corner of the map. So if you guys are looking at the more rural area of Windenburg, then that's definitely where this is. This is the lot that's at the end of kind of like a cul-de-sac looking type lot. So it has this pretty nice like concrete circular drive that ends right in front of it, which makes it kind of awkward when it comes to putting down terrain paint and discovering exactly where like a pathway should lead and all that kind of stuff. I've always found that trouble with this lot, but it's also one of my favorite lots in all of Windenburg. And the reason for that is that it kind of sits atop a hill, and it has the most beautiful views of the hillside country of Windenburg here in this rural area. And I just think it's gorgeous. Like, it is so, so pretty. So I was really excited to be building on that lot, and I kind of wanted to save it for something special. Once again, my goal for this area of Windenburg is to create kind of this old country, like a mixture of the modern and traditional with these farmhouse style houses. So that has kind of been the theme, I guess you could say, for this entire series. At least the series, this part that encompasses the series. I don't know why I say phrases like that and then just move on, and then my mind goes back to it and it's like, no, that's actually not at all what you meant to say, Mariah, so backtrack. But yeah, anyways guys, so this is the farmland area, so keeping true to form, that is the kind of build that I'm trying to create today. As with a lot of the builds that go in this area of Windenburg, I was building this off of a reference photo because, guys, in case you didn't know, Pinterest is where I get a lot of my inspiration for building. I definitely don't come up with all of this just solely out of my own head. A lot of the structure for a lot of my houses comes from reference photos, or at least pieces of them come from reference photos, and then I kind of take it and let my creativity flow from there, because that's how I kind of start a lot of my building process. So that's just definitely how a lot of mine start, and that is also definitely how this build started. But guys, this right now is called White Farmhouse. You'll know why once you see the swatch I put around the outside of the build. I'll give you two guesses as to what color this house ends up being. In fact, you probably know already from the thumbnail. But guys, White Farmhouse is the name that I have in my mind right now. Don't know if that will stick around. I kind of hope that I'll come up with something a little bit more original when it comes time to put up the speed build. But I don't know, sometimes on YouTube it's just as fine to end up with a build video that's entitled kind of exactly what the build is. I really like it when I see that people have come up with like totally original names that actually do not describe the build, but instead just kind of give the house itself a name. I really like to see that in other people's builds, but for me, I'm just honestly not ridiculously creative when it comes to coming up with house names. So because of that, I typically just say, oh hey, this is a farmhouse, let's add a descriptive word and call it a day, you know, for the actual name. So you guys have to let me know, do you like to see builds that have, speed builds that is, that have really unique names, like kind of like Autumn Chateau, like what I put up last week, like I mentioned already? I don't know if that's kind of something that you guys enjoy more than just a descriptive word to describe the speed build. Not to say that I'm necessarily going to change the way that I do it, because I honestly just like go based on my own inspiration, but just something to hear from you guys if you want to kind of weigh in on that. But like I say guys, White Farmhouse is the name of the build as of right now. It might change by the time that this build goes up. You'll know better than me by the time you're actually watching this, but this ends up having what could be 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. And I say that because 2 of the rooms that could be bedrooms are furnished as such, but then one of them is furnished as an office. So long story short, could be a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom house. I am kind of incapable right now of building pretty small houses, even on a lot like this, which I'm fairly certain is a 20 by 30 lot. I may have already said that, but on a lot like this, I was thinking that I would end up with a pretty small house, but in reality, I actually just built a house that was practically the size of the entire lot, and then just like had just no room whatsoever for landscaping and actual outdoor area. So I was thinking that that might actually be okay though for a build like this one, because I feel like if you live in this house, then the world is your backyard. You know, you kind of probably enjoy just gallivanting along the hills of Windenburg, and that's kind of the area that you consider to be the landscape that you can enjoy. So I'm not too upset that this doesn't have a backyard. Well, by a backyard, I mean like, you know, a pool area or like a gazebo. Greenhouses are also something that tend to be put in builds quite a lot. I do enjoy adding things like greenhouses or just skill building items in general to the outdoor area of a lot of my houses, but that was just really not possible, at least as possible with this particular speed build. Once again, because I really started to run out of space with the what I could do outside because I built the house so big. So I am going to maybe, depending on what speed build I release next, I have a lot of, you know, as always, I have a lot of works in progress where I've pretty much just built the exterior of a lot of houses that go here in Windenburg, but I've not actually taken to furnishing them. Kind of along that note too, I actually built the exterior shell of this house like probably something like 3 weeks ago. Like, I'm not even kidding. I built this what seems to be so long ago. This footage when I was editing it earlier looked completely unfamiliar to me because I was like, oh yeah, I guess I sort of must have done that in order to put together the speed build, but I didn't remember having actually done it. So editing is always interesting when you get to that point, because if you don't remember doing it, you're like, oh, I kind of, you know, may have used to have remembered when I would have paused or when I would have cut a certain area out, or whether I left in the floor planning, for example, in the footage itself. But that was not the case with this one because it had already been so long between when I actually originally built this and when I edited the footage. So that's probably not even important information for the vast majority of you, but just a heads up for you that the outside of this house, the building that is of the outside of this house, is looking very unfamiliar to me because it's been a while since I actually put it together. I've mentioned this in a couple of speed builds, but there was a time, probably something like a couple of weeks ago, where I went through just an absolute building spree. Like, I just found a ton of good inspiration on Pinterest. I had everything mapped out for what I wanted to do with Windenburg, and I just kind of went to town. Like, I just started building on so many different lots at the same time, and I was having an actual blast with it. I just would go on to lots, I would build the structure, sometimes I would put in the landscaping, other times I wouldn't. So I have houses, like I said, all over Windenburg that are in varying stages of completion, and I just need to kind of buckle down and get back to them, you know, do the interior, furnish / landscape, whatever is needed, and then go through the process of actually putting it into a video format. But that hasn't happened just yet. My build inspiration for the moment has kind of also left me just slightly. I think part of that is because of just like a pure lack of time. I think that that's more of what it is than anything. I had time a couple of weeks ago where I was off a couple of days during 1 week, and then I had like a lot of extra time on a weekend. And when I end up with a good bit of time like that, coupling that with the fact that I was like on Pinterest kind of a lot around that same time, I just really wanted to build. So as of right now, I do not have as much time to build. In fact, just sheer build inspiration is something that's not coming easily to me at the moment. But guys, we all go through phases like that. I feel like if you build at all in The Sims, or if you play The Sims in general, you probably go through phases of inspiration where you want to play and then you maybe don't want to play as much. Again, possibly because of a lack of free time, you know, possibly because of a lot of other factors. But I don't know, that's kind of where I am at the moment, and I think right now it is mainly a free time issue. So just this past week, when you guys are seeing this video, if you're seeing it anywhere around the week that it goes up, this past week I completed a job that I had been doing for several months at this point. I think we're coming up on what would have been about 6 months, something like that. And I've spoken about this job just ever so slightly in the past, but long story short, wasn't really the greatest situation. If I'm being honest with you, I mean, it was fine. It was a job, but actually, no, it was a little bit worse than that. But I am now moving past that situation in my life, and I'm onto a job that I am so excited. Like, guys, I've only really officially been in this role for like a day or so now, and I'm so happy. Like, I'm so excited to be working this job. So very happy. At the same time though, it means I don't have as much free time, kind of preparing to get into this job, to transfer into this job. I also had found myself with a lack of free time in general. Lots of stuff going on this past weekend. I actually barely had time to furnish this on Sunday, mainly because we were busy the majority of the day, and then also because once I finally got over my computer, all I wanted to do was play the game. I didn't actually want to furnish quite as much. That sounds really bad, guys, but I knew I wanted to get this build ready to go up on the channel, but I also was kind of like, oh, I really want to play Not So Berry or something along those lines. So if you guys hadn't caught it on the channel just yet, I am playing through the Not So Berry challenge again because I'm a little bit obsessed, but I've really been enjoying playing that family so much, and I just kind of want to spend all my spare time playing with them. So that's kind of where I am right now with The Sims. So any little bit of spare time I have is kind of dedicated to that. But at the same time, I know that the Buildspiration will come back around and bite me just like it did a couple of weeks ago, and before you know it, I'll be like building exteriors like crazy. But in the meantime, we're probably going to be furnishing some of those builds that I've built over the last couple of weeks, but not actually gotten around to furnishing just yet. So to actually talk about the interior of this build and kind of what I imagine for it, guys, this is the first build that I think I'm kind of going into thinking that it might be inhabited more by a bit of an older couple, maybe not necessarily elderly, but I was thinking definitely Sims that are in their adult life stage, possibly close to elder life stage. And I don't know why that is exactly. Once again, I kind of imagine this farmhouse area of Windenburg to be slightly more established, but to also be mixed in with some newer blood, if that makes sense. So I kind of envision a mixture of families and new starting off couples, and then also some older families living here as well. Specifically, what I thought though for this house was that it would be inhabited by like I said, an adult at least, but possibly an elder couple who are very well established, have probably a decent bit of simoleons to afford a nice place like this, and that they are possibly raising their twin granddaughters. That's kind of what I was thinking. I know that's a little specific, but you guys will kind of see the area that I laid out for the granddaughters. That is the kids' bedroom area on the upstairs. So there is only one room that could be considered the upstairs floor. I built kind of a fake room to go in the center part of the house. I don't know if any of this is making sense, because of course now we're onto the interior. If I'd explained this while we were doing the exterior, this might make a lot more sense, but there is kind of a fake box that I consider to be a room just above the central point of the house that's actually not functional as a room. You can make it so you just have to put in another set of stairs or connect the two upstairs rooms that way. But if you're looking at the front of the house, to the right, there's an area that has an upstairs, which is the functional upstairs for this house. So that's the area that I eventually, like we're talking the last room that I furnished in the house, turn into like this amazing goals kids room. Like, it's so cool. I really had a fun time putting it together, and like I said, kind of all the main living area for this house is on the downstairs floor. So I didn't exactly know what the style of this family would be. What I really pictured was, again, kind of a mixture of traditional and modern. So while the house may have been here for a long time, I feel like that there are definitely elements of it that have been renovated, such as the area that's in the master bedroom, which we'll get to later, because there are two definitely more modern windows that look out to the great expanse of the forest that's behind the house. I also think that if this is a bit of an older couple, that they're like a really cool, hip, older couple. Like, they have some really neat, I imagine that they'd have some really cool personalities. I actually do something kind of fun in this video, which I put in not only like the main living areas that you would expect, such as the living room and the dining room and the kitchen and some bathrooms and all that kind of stuff, but I also furnished this teeny tiny room that's more of like a little massage room. Like, I don't know if maybe one of the adults / elders who lives, one of the members of the couple that lives in this house is into the wellness skill. Perhaps they have like an at-home massage business or something like that. So I had this little room that's off the living room that I didn't actually know what to do with it. So I put in like a massage table and a couple of little like the little stones stacked on top of one another and a little bamboo plant in the corner, and just kind of made it into a room that I've never really created before in a house. So I really think that that looks cool. You guys have to let me know what you think of that room, because it's kind of weird. I honestly I've never done anything like that before, but just to kind of keep with that theme, later on you'll see me kind of stick a little meditation board in the master bedroom. So I imagine, like I said, that at least one of the members of this household is very much into wellness. Perhaps both. I feel like that could potentially be a hobby that they enjoy together. There are a lot of older people that I know that might be kind of, they might benefit from some like yoga practices or some light, low impact form of physical activity. I feel like yoga would be something that would be really good for maybe some elder folks to encounter, just because it keeps you limber, it keeps your joints strong, but in, once again, a low impact way, so you don't damage your joints or anything like that. Once again, as you kind of get a little bit older. I just thought that was a cool concept. Like I said, having not ever done that before in a house, I thought it would be kind of cool to include in this one. And as per usual, I do furnish all of the bathrooms off camera, which once again, there are 3. There's one that's more of a half bathroom. Actually, there are 2 that are pretty much half bathrooms, and one of those 2 half bathrooms has the laundry room set in it though, so it looks more like a full-size bathroom, but it doesn't have a shower or a tub in it or anything like that. And then one of the bathrooms that's off of the dining room area has, you know, the shower and the tub and, you know, the toilet and the sink and all that kind of stuff, all the things you would expect to find in a full-size bathroom. So you have everything you need in this house as far as, like, even if you choose to play with a bit of a younger family in this, maybe the family has toddlers instead of children, or dogs perhaps, instead of the need for a bathtub elsewhere, you will have a bathtub that's available. That is something that I try to keep in the back of my mind when I'm furnishing builds. I know that things like bathtubs specifically are incredibly useful when you're talking about, again, having toddlers or dogs in the game, because that's the way that you clean off said toddlers and dogs. And if you have a house that only has showers in them, then you're kind of, you know, up a creek without a paddle, because you have to find some way to put those in yourself, else, you know, your dogs and your little toddlers are gonna go stinky, and nobody wants that. So I don't even know what I'm talking about, guys. Oh my gosh, my brain is such a mess today, it's not even funny. On top of that, I've already recorded another voiceover today, and my mouth already feels like it's like drying out slightly, so that's lots and lots of fun. But guys, we are moving on to the really awesome upstairs bedroom, and honestly, I would probably have loved this bedroom up until I was like a teenager, and even with all like the kitty elements, the obvious kitty elements, I don't know, I just think that this is a really, really cool bedroom. And I just thought that it would be kind of fun to take this one long rectangular shaped room with very little interest in the shape. I thought it'd be really cool to take it and divide it up into a couple of different components. So all the way down at the bottom, compared to when you come up the stairs, you have this really neat play area, which I actually use that puzzle carpet, which I've never ever used before. Honestly, like, I do not think I've ever used that in a build, but it was the first carpet that came to mind when I was thinking about putting something like that together, like a dedicated play area. And then I also wanted to kind of course, fill that area with toys and put in some items that could be both appropriate for kids and toddlers, depending on who you choose to play with. I put in like regular size beds, so I was thinking kids/teens, but of course you could replace those beds with toddler beds, and, you know, this room be just as functional was kind of my goal. In addition to that, I also made this like custom desk area, which is kind of inspired by the kids' room stuff pack. I really, really like the bookshelves and the desks and the dressers and all that kind of stuff that came with that stuff pack specifically, because it all matches the other items really well, and they're just so bright and cheery, and I love the color swatches that come on those too. So I just made this little built-in desk area, once again with a bookshelf on either side of a desk, kind of like squeeze it all together, put some cool stuff on the desk itself. I didn't include a computer. I think, guys, did I include a computer? I don't feel like I did. I think I put the tablet in instead, because I feel like if you're talking about a kid's room, I know a lot of parents who aren't really the biggest fans of having what am I even saying? Having computers in children's rooms. I know that some people grew up that way, and I honestly don't have an opinion one way or the other because I'm not a mom just yet. But I know that when I was younger, my parents would have absolutely died at the idea of letting me have a computer in my room. In fact, like, my cell phone being in my room half the time was a little iffy. You know, it was crazy. But I don't know how, you know, some parents, if you're a parent, weigh in the comments down below. If you have kids, how do you foresee yourself tackling that issue? Or have you already had to encounter that issue? Like, do you let your kids have major electronics in your room? Anyways, so I was really also enjoying being able to use that parenthood rainbow rug looking thing. Once again, having never used that swatch before, I thought it would just kind of add a really nice pop of color to the build, especially considering that in that room specifically, I didn't actually put like colored beds. The beds have just neutral white swatches. But guys, I am going to go ahead and wrap up the voiceover right here. Thanks for just kind of sticking with me, as I think I thanked you in the last speed build that I did for being such a mess, because I feel like kind of a mess here recently, but I'm a happy mess, so hope you guys still enjoy it regardless. But once again, thank you so much for watching. This build is available on the gallery. All the information for that is in the description down below, so check that out if you would like. So thank you guys once again. I hope you're having the best of days, and I will see you very soon. Bye!